in your mouth. Why? Because you are so used to it, you take it for granted. There are some people, they cannot use their mind to comprehend. But you can. Everything I'm saying now, you can understand what I'm saying. There are some people they can't. And I'm not talking about language barrier. They just can't. What I'm saying to you. But we, as I'm saying it, you can process the word that is coming out of my mouth. You can process it with your mind and understand it. But some can't. We take a lot of things for granted that God has done for us. Why? Because we have been praying and fasting for a particular stuff that it seems as if God is not answering. And isn't it amazing that the enemy will allow you to be sidetracked by unanswered prayer from the things that God has done? There is this African proverb that says, a child that knows how to say thank you will always receive more. Could it be our lack of thanksgiving? That is why we are not receiving more from God. When was the last time that you go before God and you did not ask for anything, but you just want to say, God, thank you? I've decided, and if you have known me, you will have seen that most of my prayer is a prayer of thanksgiving. Most of my prayer is a prayer of thanksgiving. Why? Because everything that I need is already provided. So all I just have to do is pray a prayer of faith, and the prayer of faith is a prayer of thanksgiving. Jesus said, ask and you will receive. If you believe it, you have already have it. So if I have already have it, what do I have to do next? You don't keep asking for what you have already received. You say thank you. If I give you something now that you're looking for, do you keep asking for it? Or you say thank you? So Jesus said, anytime that you pray, that you believe that you have received what you are praying for, and you will have them. So if I have them, then what do I need to do next? Thank God. But how do I get to that level if I really don't know my left from my right? How do I get to that level? How do I get to the level of thanksgiving? How do I get to the level of knowing that everything about my life is already done? That God has already finished everything that He wants to do in my life. That the only thing is for me to enter into the finished work of God. God, question. I asked someone this question last week. If God needed Adam in the work of creation, when He created the heavens and the earth, the first thing He will create will be Adam. Right? If God needs Adam in the work of creation. But why did God wait till the sixth day to create Adam when He created everything first?
So He wouldn't take credit. So He won't
take credit. I like that. So Adam won't take credit. That's good.
Created for him.
Created for him. Everything that you need is already created. Everything that you need to live a successful life, everything that you need to live a peaceful life, everything that you need to live a wealthy life is already created by God. The reason you are not enjoying it is because you do not understand it yet. The reason you don't know what you have or who you are in God is because you don't understand yet. The day you understand who you are is the day that you begin to walk from the place of rest. God created everything Adam needed from day 1 to day 5. And on day 6, God created man, Adam. And when God created Adam, God put Adam in what He has already created. And on day 7, which we call the Sabbath day, which is the day of rest, God blessed the day and he called it holy. Of all the days that God was creating, the only day he blessed was the seventh day, which is the Sabbath day. He called it holy, he blessed that day, and we saw that God rested on that day. So Adam now operates from the place of rest. From the seventh day up until now, that is when Adam starts to work. God did not need Adam for creation. Why? Because God has already made everything available for Adam. So when God was resting, Adam begins to work. So that means Adam ought to be operating from the state of rest. So you and I ought to be operating from the state of rest, which is the seventh day. But because of what Adam did, we missed it as man. But thank God for Jesus. Jesus came back to restore that. And when Jesus restored that, we can get back to operating and working from the state of rest again. But you cannot understand or know that if you don't know who you are in God. The level or your functionality or your productivity is dependent on your level of knowledge. Your functionality or your productivity is dependent on your level of knowledge. The more you know, the better you act. Have you heard this statement? If you know better, you do better. The more you know, the better you act. The less you know, the less you act. So what does that mean? That means your level of operation or productivity or your level of functionality is limited to your knowledge. It's limited to your knowledge. Young man, if I ask you 2x plus 4 equals 8, find x. 2x plus 4 equals 8, find x. X is equal to 2.
Yeah.
Why does it take you so long? You have to figure it out. But the ones that worked the part before will quickly get the answer. The level of what you know, if I ask her the same question, she's not going to get it because she's not in that level yet. The solution at your place of work they are looking for is in you. You are the carrier of their solution. The day that you understand that is the day that you begin to get promotion. That is why I always love to tell young people that if you're looking for if you're looking for a book to read in the Bible, read the book of Daniel. Take your time, study, not because Daniel is here. Take your time, study the book of Daniel. Looking for, I've said this before, and I think I should say it again. To pray for promotion, I don't want to say it's wrong, but it's wrong. What is the essence of praying for promotion when you don't have a solution? If you have a solution, you will always get the promotion. If you fail in the class, you don't get promoted until you pass the class and you get promoted. But we live in a society now whereby they will push you, even if you fail, they will push you to the next class. It's not supposed to be. If you fail a class, you need to stay in that class till you pass the class. When you pass the class, then you move to the next class. When you have a solution, you get a promotion. So if you are praying for promotion without a solution, then don't complain to God that God is not answering your prayer. So your prayer should be, God, make me a solution. Then you will get the promotion. So to be praying for promotion is the other way around. But praying for solution will always grant you a promotion. If you read the book of Daniel, you will find it there. Daniel never prays for promotion. And he's always getting promotion. Why? Because he became a solution. How did he become a solution? By knowing who he is in God. The day you know who you are in God is the day that you become a solution to your world. You know who you are in God, you become a solution to your world. Go to Daniel chapter 1. I'm going to look at some verses in chapter 1, verse in chapter 2, then we go to Ephesians. Daniel chapter 1. When they were in exile in Babylon, many of the Jewish people were taken captive and they were taken to Babylon. And some were left in Jerusalem, the poor, those that are poor, those that they don't have too much wisdom were left behind. But they took the elite in Jerusalem to Babylon. Daniel is part of the elite that was taken to Babylon. On getting to Babylon, they want to change their identity. The plan of the devil is to change your identity. If you can change your identity and you live by your identity, will change your personality. And the moment your personality is changed, there is no how that you can achieve whatever it is that God wants you to achieve on earth. When Daniel gets to Babylon, look at Daniel chapter 1 from verse 4. Select only strong, healthy, and good-looking young men. This is the king talking to one of his workers. Make sure they are well versed in every branch of learning, are gifted with knowledge and good judgment, and are suited to serve in the royal palace. Train these young men in the language and literature of Babylon. The king assigned them a daily ration of food and wine from his own kitchen. They were to be trained for 3 years and then would enter the royal service. Daniel, Ananias, Mishael, and Azariah were 4 of the young men chosen, all from the tribe of Judah. The chief of staff renamed, this is where the change of name begins. The chief of staff renamed them with these Babylonian names. Daniel was called Belshazzar, Ananias was called Shadrach, Mishael was called Meshach, Azariah was called Abednego. But Daniel was determined not to defile himself by eating the food and wine given to them by the king. Daniel determined. Why? Daniel did not get to Babylon before he determined what he was going to do. Daniel did not determine what he was going to do when he got to Babylon. He predetermined what he was going to do. It could have been easy for Daniel to go with the flow. He wasn't in Jerusalem. When we can't see you, when the eyes of your pastor cannot look on you like an hawk, what do you do when we can't see you? Do you determine that, you know what, I'm not going to go with the flow? Because if you think you can beat them when you join them, I cannot tell you that you can't beat them when you join them. The day that you say, I've given my life to Christ, right? That is the day everything changes about you. If you now try to be like them, you can't be like them. It's either you try too much, or you try too, or you are too low in the level of how they do things. That is why you will see the church The church people that want to act like the worldly people, they do too much. They go to the extreme, or they are down here in the ground. Right? You can't beat them if you try to join them. Daniel determined not to defile himself by eating the food and wine given to them by the king. He asked the chief staff for permission not to eat this unacceptable food. To Daniel, it was unacceptable, not to the rest of the people. Daniel understood who he was in God. That was why Daniel can say to the king, to the worker of the king, that, you know what, forget about the food. I don't want the food. Give me vegetables. Because everything that Daniel is going to be and do in Babylon depends on this. Am I going to join them, or am I going to stand apart? Am I going to stand apart, or am I going to join them? Am I going to do what they do, or I'm going to do what I know God wants me to do? Now God had given the chief of staff both respect and affection for Daniel. But he responded, I'm afraid of my lord the king, who has ordered that you eat this food and wine. If you become pale and thin compared to other youths your age, I'm afraid the king will have me beheaded. Daniel was not a white bearded man when this was happening. Because when we read it, sometimes the picture that we have in our mind, oh, Daniel is this big man with big beard like God. No. Daniel was a young man like Daniel. Go to Daniel chapter 2. Alright. Daniel chapter 2, let's start from verse 1. Before we read chapter 2, let me quickly make this statement. If Daniel had taken part of what happened in chapter 1, what we're about to read in chapter 2 is not going to happen. From verse 1, chapter 2. One night during the second year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had such disturbing dream that he could not sleep. He called his magicians, enchanters, sorcerers, astrologers, and he demanded that they tell him what he had dreamed. As they stood before the king, he said, I have had a dream that deeply troubles me. I must know what it means. Then the astrologers answered the king in Aramaic, Long live the king, tell us the dream and we will tell you what it means. But the king said to the astrologers, I am serious about this. If you don't tell me what my dream was and what it means, you will be torn limb from limb, your house will be burnt into heaps of rubble. But if you tell me what I dream and what the dream means, I will give you many wonderful gifts and honor. Just tell me the dream and what it means. They said again, Please, your majesty, tell us the dream, and we will tell you what it means. The king replied, I know what you are doing. You are stalling for time because you know I'm serious when I say, if you don't tell me the dream, you are doomed. So you have conspired to tell me lies, hoping I will change my mind. But tell me the dream, then I will know that you can tell me what it means. The astrologers replied to the king, No one on earth can tell the king his dream. And no king, however great and powerful, has ever asked such a thing of any magician, enchanter, or astrologer. The king's demand is impossible. Did you see that? The king's demand is impossible. No one except the gods can tell your dream, and they do not live here among people. The king, what the king is asking is impossible. No one on earth can explain the king's dream except the gods, and they do not live among men. So what are those people saying to the king? That what you are asking is impossible, And the only one that can answer you or share what you are asking with you, the only one that can share that with you is on a different pedestal. Is not living in our realm. Now look at this. The king was furious. When he heard this, he ordered that all the wise men of Babylon be executed. And because the king's decree were not sent, because of the king's decree, men were sent to find and kill Daniel and his friends. When Arioch, the commander of King's Guard, came to kill them, Daniel handled the situation with wisdom and discretion. He asked Arioch, why has the king issued such a harsh decree? So Arioch told him all that had happened. Daniel went at once to see the king and requested more time to tell the king what the dream meant. Then Daniel went home and told his friends, Ananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, what had happened. He urged them to ask the God of heaven to show them his mercy by telling them the secret, so they would not be executed along with other wise men of Babylon. That night the secret was revealed to Daniel in a vision. Then Daniel praised the God of heaven. What others consider to be impossible, Daniel sees as possible. When others say the only one that can tell the king what the king is asking for is God, Daniel stood in or stepped in as a God. So when you now decide to operate with understanding of who you are in God, guess what? You become a God in your world. You become a God in your world when you understand who you are in God. Because everything that seems to be impossible for others now becomes possible for you. When you are at work and they are asking for a solution, guess what? You step in and you give them the solution. And you don't give them the solution because you are looking for a promotion. No, you give them the solution because you now become the carrier of solution. When they are shouting there is impossibility, when it gets to you, you just tell them it's a child's play. And you solve the riddle. Daniel was able to interpret the dream of the king and also tell the king the dream. Let's look at verse 25. Arioch quickly took Daniel to the king and said, I have found one of the captives from Judah who will tell the king the meaning of his dream. And the king said to Daniel, also known as Belshazzar, is this true? Can you tell me what my dream was and what it means? Daniel replied, there are no wise men, enchanters, magicians, or fortune tellers who can reveal the king's dream, but there is a God in heaven who reveals secret. He has shown King Nebuchadnezzar what will happen in the future. Now I will tell you your dream and the vision you saw as you lay on your bed. So he explained the dream to the king, but this is what now happened. Look at verse 46. Now this is the king. Then after Daniel explained everything to the king, then King Nebuchadnezzar threw himself down before Daniel and worshipped him. The king, not the second in command. Not the second in command. The king himself threw himself down in front of Daniel. How will you feel if Trump will enter into this place today and is looking for something and you now solve this problems Trump is looking for, and Trump decide that, you know what, oh my God, and he start prostrating? Wouldn't that look awkward? It will look awkward because that is the strong. See, King Nebuchadnezzar, like Trump, is the strongest man in his world. Just as they consider Trump to be the highest of all powers in our world today, that's the same way Nebuchadnezzar was. For Nebuchadnezzar the king to now prostrate in front of a youth That shows you the power that Daniel carries. But Daniel could not operate in such a grandiose way or in such a powerful way if Daniel does not know who he is in God. Daniel's understanding of who he is in God is what made him to be God to the king. So until you now come to the realization of what you are in God, they'll be pushing you aside. They'll be pushing you aside. And as a child of God that has grown into maturity to becoming sons, you are not supposed to be shoved aside. If they're looking for anyone to solve anything at the place of work, guess what? It should be you. It should be you. You are the solution the world needs. You carry that solution. The king prostrated before Daniel and worshipped him and commanded his people to offer sacrifice and sweet incense before him. The king now commands his people that, you know what, this is a mini god. Daniel became a mini god. So if you now read Daniel chapter 3, which I want you to take your time and read the entire book of Daniel, you will see in Daniel chapter 3 that when the king now decide that, you know what, I want every of my high officials to bow to an image I set up in worship. Everybody bow except the three Hebrew boys. But the question is, where is Daniel? A god do not bow to another god. The only god that bows to another god is the lesser god bowing down to the big god. When the Ark of Covenant was captured by the Philistines and they took the ark to the house of their god, when they took it in the evening, when they got there in the morning, their god is bowing face down to the ark of God. Gods don't bow down to gods. The only god that bows down to another god is the small god bowing down to the big god. So in Daniel chapter 3, Daniel has already proved himself. So Daniel is standing next to the king while everybody else is bowing. But it's time for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to take their own stand. So the moment you know who you are in God, you will face anyone. Daniel chapter 3, when they said they did not bow, they took them to the king. And we are not talking about one king that does not know anything. This is the most powerful king on earth. They took them to the king, and the king said, is it true? I said you should bow, you did not bow. Is it true? Okay, I want you to turn up the heat in the furnace. They said they turned it up 7 times. I don't know how you can eat up something that is already heated 7 more times. It was so hard that they were throwing, the ones that were throwing the guys in the fire even died. So when they were in the furnace, the furnace did not hurt them. The king saw Jesus in the furnace with them, the Son of God. The king said, wow, didn't we throw 3 people in the fire? Why am I saying the one I'm saying is like the Son of God? Come out. They came out, and they too, they become a god. So the moment you know who you are and the power that you carry, you begin to operate like God in your world. Now go to Ephesians. Ephesians chapter 1. If you know the power that you carry and you know who you are in God, you begin to operate like God in your world. Ephesians chapter 1 verse 19. I also pray that you will understand the incredible greatness of God's power for us who believe Him. This is the same mighty power that raised Christ from the dead and seated him in the heavenly place of honor at God's right hand in the heavenly realms, far above any ruler or authority or power or leader or anything else, not only in this world, but also in the world to come. The power that raises Jesus from the dead is at work in you if you believe. So much more than what Daniel did in the Old Testament. You can do much more. You can do much more than what Daniel did in the Old Testament. Look at same Ephesians chapter 3. Ephesians chapter 3, let's look at verse 20. Ephesians 3:20. Now all the glory to God, who is able, through his mighty power at work within you. The power is at work within you. If you don't know the power that you carry, you will function lesser than what is on the inside of you. A lion does not know there is a lion that is raised among sheep will always do bad. Instead of roaring, it's going to be bleating like a sheep. A lion that is raised among the sheep that does not know who he is will always be bleating instead of roaring. But the day he realizes that, you know what, I'm living among food, that is the day we'll realize who he is. When you understand the power that is at work in you, you don't live lesser than that power. The day you realize the power that is at work in you, you don't live lesser than that power. Give you an example. If God blesses you with a Ferrari, right? You cannot drive to the uttermost capability of the horsepower that it has if you're driving on 495. Because you have a speed limit. If you go over the speed limit and you hit, you get a ticket. But if you now go to Germany, there is somewhere called Autobahn in Germany that you don't have speed limit. You can push the pedal to the metal the way you want it and zoom. You can go 0 to 150 in a couple of seconds if you want to. You now decide that, you know what, let me stay on 55. Will you enjoy the Ferrari? No. The only place you will enjoy the speed of the Ferrari is when you are driving where there is no speed limit. But when you are driving where there is speed limit, you cannot push the horsepower to the maximum capacity. When you don't know the power that you carry, you will live below the capacity. That's what I'm trying to let you understand. But the day you understand the power that is at work in you, you will function on all cylinders. You begin to function. Because you understand that, you know what, you can do much more than what the Old Testament prophets did. You can do much more than what Daniel did. The kings were bound to Daniel. Guess what? Your boss are supposed to be worshiping you. Why? Because everything that they need is locked up in you. Even in school, all your classmates, they should be bowing down to you because you are everything that they need is locked up in you. If the teachers are looking for someone to give them solution, it should be you. Because everything is locked up in you. There is a power that is at work within you. Now look at what it says in Ephesians chapter 3 verse 20. Now all glory to God, who is able through his mighty power at work in us to accomplish infinitely more than we might ask or think. Infinitely. He can do more than what you can think in your head or more than what you can ask. Why? Because there is a power that is at work in you, and it is the same power that raises Jesus from the dead. So the day I understand that I have that power, guess what? I better be operating with that power. I better be operating with that power. The day I understand that power, that power is at work in me, that is the day that your family life is going to change. The day that you understand that power. Your business is going to change. Your approach to your school is going to change. Your approach to work is going to change. Your approach to everything in life is going to change. Why? Because you now understand there is a power at work in you. So if you understand the power that you carry, then what can move you? Do you now see why we need to go back to the seventh day, which is the Sabbath day, then we start working from there? Because the moment you understand what you carry, you will be at rest. That's why Jesus was able to sleep in the middle of the storm, because he understood the power that he carries. Now let's go to the Old Testament. Even Jonah was able to sleep in the middle of the storm, even though Jonah was disobedient to God. He was still able to sleep in the middle of the storm because he knows the power that was on his inside. So when I understand the power on my inside, when everything is falling left and right, I'm at peace. Why? Because I understand the power that I have on my inside. Lions don't back down for anyone. Why? Because they understand who they are. No matter how big, they don't back down because they understand who they are. The day you understand who you are, that is the day you start operating from the state of rest. You don't fret, you don't get anxious about anything, you just know that everything is going to be all right. Why? Because you know who you are. Daniel knows, he knows who he is. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they know who they are. Do you know who you are? Do you know who you are in God? You need to know who you are in God. Amen. Let us pray.